Hey guys, Dan here,
And Frank, Godzilla Island.
and we are here with Mazer Squad, episode 26. We're going to be reviewing Valley of Gwangi, but of course, before we get to that, we are going to be reviewing Ultraman Blazar episodes 18 and 19, along with Kaijus and Cowboys issue number 3.
Yes, we're going for a Western style for this show, guys.
Yeah. So yeah, really cool episode coming up. But before we do that, we're going to get into some news here. And why don't you start off with this Godzilla comic book news?
Yeah, I mean, last episode we did before the Blake special, we just talked about the Godzilla renaissance going on right now for comic books. There's just a ton of Godzilla comic books coming out this year. One of them was the Marvel Godzilla Omnibus. We're finally getting it in full color this year. Nice big hardcover book. But just announced, like literally minutes before we started the show, 13th Dimension Comics has said that there will be on June 26th a Marvel Godzilla Facsimile edition, which is a reprint of issue 1, which we have not seen in years, and to get an issue 1 Godzilla right now is very expensive because Godzilla is booming right now, and to get it in good condition comparable to a reprint is just like astronomical. You're talking $150 plus probably. But anyway, this is going to have a variant cover that has not been announced who the artist is, if it's a old school cover or something like they're doing for the Omnibus, and it's also going to be getting a foil cover. Now, if it's a foil cover of the classic cover, I think I'm going to definitely have to pick that one up. I might pick up both. Right now, the only cover that they're showing for the Omnibus is that new cover, which it's nice, but like when I think of Marvel Godzilla, I want that classic cover, the issue 1 cover that we're going to be getting here. That is going to be a variant, but right now that book is running for $100, and I haven't seen any listing for the variants on that one yet. There's 2 variants for the Omnibus, and I'm kind of worried that the variants for that Omnibus are going to cost even more money than the standard edition of the Omnibus.
Yeah.
And, I don't feel like, I don't know if it's going to be like a $50. I feel like it might be like some ridiculous price.
Yeah,
if they are going to charge differently.
It's really weird that we're kind of close to it launching. Like, people should be putting in pre-orders and stuff.
You can pre-order the Omnibus right now
but not
Target
the variant
and all
covers.
that. But you can't order the variants. I mean, it's still. I don't think it's coming until like September, or October. It's still a way off, but
yeah, but you know, it's like a big book like this. Like, it's gonna cost them a lot of money to make, and
yes,
they don't want to just print a random number of variant covers or like regular editions of this book. Like, do you think they'd want to gauge interest to be like, how popular is this? Do people really want this?
And I'm really curious. Like, I'm not too familiar with like omnibuses like this, but I feel like it isn't very often that you see like an omnibus with variant covers either.
No,
like,
it's not common.
Especially a hardcover book with variant covers. It doesn't seem like a very common thing to me. So I'm kind of wondering like if it's going to be like store exclusive or something.
It could
Only
be.
certain places are going to be carrying these. There hasn't been much out there about it. I've been digging, and there's really, like I said, nothing on them yet.
I mean,
you can't get it from Target now for like $100, and then when that deal comes around with Target, you get like 2 for $150 or something like that. But
I would assume Target would probably get its own variant, just because I feel like it's one of the biggest booksellers right now, like at least in-person book selling.
Yeah, but are they getting rid of their book section Target though?
I don't think the books, because I feel like those are super popular over there. Like, people are always getting books there.
Yeah.
I understand why they're getting rid of the regular physical media, but I can see them keeping the books because it's a fairly popular thing over there. Is their book section?
Yeah.
But
my Target, you walk in, it's the first thing you see is the books.
Yeah, and it's usually has a decent amount of people in it. We always stop every single time we go.
Yeah.
Which is our weekly Starbucks trip. But anyway, back to this foil cover.
So,
I'm excited for it. I kind of want to see what it looks like. Like maybe if they put out like a test
Yeah,
cover, some pictures or something to kind of gauge, because I feel like
yeah,
foil covers can sometimes be hit or miss. I just want a
yeah,
full out '90s foil cover, way over the top.
yeah.
Like was that
Oh yeah,
Valiant Comics was the big
yeah. I
foil
remember we had a
comic brand
couple. Of,
back then?
I think we had a couple of those back at the house. They're probably still there.
Probably, but you just get it for the cover. Like it's just so
Yeah,
cool looking.
yeah. They were cool looking covers back then.
Yeah, and yeah, of course you always have like I think the most famous, I gotta think, most famous foil cover has to be that Spider-Man, the gold and the silver variants.
Yeah, yeah. That's classic '90s right there for you. I mean,
Yeah,
that's just childhood flashbacks right now.
that's we have to fuel this non-existent comic book collector market until it crashes. But
Oh,
talking about the real comic book market, and we have a new Kickstarter coming out. It's gonna be World of Nebulon again. Just announced like an hour or so ago.
yeah, just walking in. I mean, we knew Toko USA did have a project in the works after Unknown Heroes, and they just Unknown Heroes, the anthology volume 2 got fulfilled. Today was the last day. Final wave of shipments went out. Right before walking into the show, I filmed the unboxing for that actually. So that will be up on the channel soon as well. I have a short 2 coming for that. I have this. I only just got in on the volume 2, so I'm catching up. We didn't read volume 1 or 2. We've had the digital copy for a little. I haven't got to read it yet. I kind of, when I start a new series, I like to start with physical first, and then I'll go back reread with the digital. So I've been waiting for the physical. I'm going to be reading that. I feel like we owe it now to review that, and especially with this Nebulon series, I want to see the kind of work they do. So the team behind this World of Nebulon is going to be James Santana and Hunter Van Lierop. I hope I got that last name right. I'm sorry if I didn't. They were the editors for the entire Unknown Heroes anthology, but they are also the Toko USA the Toko USA team behind Project K, which is in volume 2 of the Unknown Heroes anthology. James early on, there's not a ton of information on this, but James is touting it as a Toku inspired comic, specifically inspired by Power Rangers and Kamen Rider, and he also says that he's thrown in some kaiju for some good measure there, so that's always fun times for us here. And I think James and Hunter, their goal is to showcase this new universe that they are building with this story, so I'm kind of curious to see where this is going to go. If they're trying to do like something similar to Massiverse, I know they love the Massiverse, so there's a lot of stories that spun off from that, and each story is its own kind of different feel. So I'm really curious to see where they're going with that. That's sort of like what the anthology is. It's different stories, but this is not an anthology. This is its own standalone thing. It's only them working on this project. It's a comic book. Really looking forward to it. We haven't seen any concept art just yet, but I'm sure that will be coming in the coming days now that it's been announced. April 1st. The show will probably be out right before that, so we'll be hyping that up for sure, and looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, definitely. The next show comes out. Campaign's gonna be started, but I'm sure we're gonna be tweeting. Like as soon as the thing comes out, we're gonna be tweeting. Oh, we supported it and all that stuff.
Yeah,
So we'll let you guys
be
know when
tweeting.
it's live, which we already know it's gonna be April 1st, but still,
Yes.
there'll be reminders.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a tentative date. Things happen with Kickstarter, but
That's true.
Right now it's April 1st.
Yeah, it's true. But super excited for it, and can't wait to see how it turns out. I want to see some art and stuff.
I love seeing Toku comics. We're in such an incredible age right now. I mean, like I was saying early yesterday, we've been doing the Massiverse stories here on the channel. We just started a little journey here. Did Radiant Black Volume 1 and 2, Radiant Red Volume 1. And to finish off the Phase 1, if you want to call it, I read Infernal Girl Red, which was a Kickstarter comic written by Macrom, and Erica Durso did the art on that. And this has to be one of my favorite comics so far of the Massiverse. It's just actually out of just like a toku superhero anything comic that I've read in like years. But I was really blown away by it. You're getting a little mini review here of it right now. I guess we're raving about it, but I'll absolutely be reviewing that. I mean, the art in it, the colors are just like it just pops, and it's like such like it pulls you in the story. You want to see what happens next. It's really fast paced, and it's crazy how each of those Massiverse stories has a different feel. So just if you guys missed out on the Humble Bundle, just keep an eye out for it coming back around again, because you really missed out on that deal.
Yeah, I hopped on that along with the. They also had the crazy Mega Man Humble Bundle at the same time. So usually I don't do Humble Bundle because it's like very rare that they have very good ones, and I'm like, oh, they have two really good ones at the same time. I think the last Humble Bundle I did was the Power Rangers comic book bundle, which was like 2-3 years ago at this point.
Yeah.
So yeah, I picked up the whole series. Have not started reading it yet, so I'm definitely behind you on it. But just you hyping it up, I'm always just like, man, I changed bags that I brought to work, so I can't fit the iPad.
Oh no!
So I'm like,
a new bag again. Change the bag again.
I'm like, I gotta figure something out.
You gotta change that bag.
Yeah.
Change it again.
Yeah, I know. But I guess we're gonna transition over to the review sections of our. But we're gonna have some mini reviews, which is I'm kind of looking forward to
today. Yeah, this is something different here we're doing.
Yeah.
The first one up is the Foodlossalla.
Yeah, Foodlossalla.
Short review, which is the Takashi Yamazaki short that he did. It's a little kaiju short that was a commercial for Ajinomoto seasoning. It's a umami seasoning, but it's also a sort of food waste awareness ad as well.
Yeah, so it was very heavy on the like produce, like don't let your produce go bad, like use some spices to make, if you're not into eating like all your vegetables and stuff, use spices to like flavor it up. But it was like really cool how they did it.
Yeah, it was really well animated. What was cool about this short is that after it was done, we'll post the link because there is one where it's just the commercial, but the one that was mostly going around was one where it was the commercial, and then after the whole commercial short, they did a whole little quick making of thing, and the whole thing is subtitled, which is very rare to see come out of Japanese commercials from Japan. But I guess because Takashi Yamazaki is just killing it with -1, they're like, let's subtitle this one so that we know it's going to do well overseas. So it was a really cool short. Like we said, we mentioned the vegetables. We see they shot it on a studio lot, and the extras that they have, like running in the crowds from the monster, like we're running by buses, and they had guys on top of the buses with like laundry baskets of like vegetables, and we're just throwing them off the bus at the extras as they ran by to make it look like food's falling from the sky on them. Really cool. Very well done. They had a little Ultramanish team in the episode.
Yeah, it was cool. Like they had like three team members.
Yeah, and then like the orange Science Patrol style uniform with the helmet and the exaggerated sci-fi.
And then they all hold up their little spice box or whatever they have in their hand.
And then they change into like an apron too. Like the outfit now has like an apron on.
Yeah.
But it was really cool. The kaiju design's actually a really interesting design. It's comprised of all this food. It's the Foodlossalla monster. It's just attacking the city. But it's just like more like kind of sad. You see it cry because it's like all this food's being wasted. And it's kind of like just shamed on the people. And the team just tries to shoot it after the whole little news report, people running crazy. The guns don't have any effect, and that's when Dan said like they pull out the spices. And, like, this will be the way to stop the Foodlossalla monster. And that's how it ends. Really, it's a really quick watch.
Yeah, it's a commercial. It's like 30 seconds.
It's like 50 40, 50 seconds at most.
Yeah. One of the things I liked about it was you could really it really just tells like the direction, because it wasn't just like a cheesy commercial. Like the actual effects were really good for the budget,
Yeah.
and then kind of the way when they do like the beam shot from the team, like it like follows the team, it like goes through the beams. It was a really interesting shot how they did it, and I know obviously it's really worth seeing, but it just made me want to watch an actual like Tokusatsu or Ultraman. Really, I want an Ultraman episode directed by him, or like a series where he's like lead producer or something.
Yeah,
where it's like his vision on screen for a whole season.
For a commercial for a seasoning company, there was a lot of production put into this.
Yeah, and, it looked like it was probably like a 4 or 5 day shoot, and then plus all the after post production on it was probably crazy. The amount of post production on this commercial.
Like you said, they got some quality shots in this. It was a damn good looking commercial. I mean, it would be like Super Bowl caliber here in the States, honestly.
Yeah, and, I thought it was on board with that. Obviously, the company that's advertising is not going to be like a Super Bowl level. Yeah. But like the concept and the design and everything, yes, it's definitely a Super Bowl quality commercial. And the guy just won an Oscar. I mean, obviously they didn't know that going into him directing the commercih, but he had won a bunch of Japanese Academy Awards as well. So they probably knew they had a hit on their hands to make a big deal out of it. Yeah.
No, absolutely. And just like I said, just the whole message behind it too. It's just not a seasoning commercial. There's actually like a meaningful message behind it. Yeah. They talk about the millions of pounds of food waste that happens yearly. Yeah, food waste is really... And it's pretty crazy. It's pretty eye-opening. Although the monster looks a bit goofy, it is quite symbolic of the amount of food that gets wasted. I mean, that monster is pretty much the size of a pile of what gets wasted yearly, which is pretty disturbing, honestly.
Probably just for that city, honestly.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. And if you really do dig the monster, and if you happen to be somebody who has a 3D printer, we've shared out their stuff on our Instagram. We're on Instagram, not on Twitter. We are pretty active on Instagram. I'd say Twitter and Instagram are usually our active accounts, but we have shared out this 3D printer, 3D artist. He prints sculpts of different kaiju. Sometimes he did a really nice -1 diorama set of the theater. His name is Kamen Rider Silver. Makes some great stuff. He did some Gargantua figures, but he actually has the file for the Foodlossalla figure, if you would like, on his Thingiverse account. We'll link that down below for this. But check out Kamen Rider Silver on Thingiverse and Etsy as well, and even Instagram. Pretty easy name to remember, Kamen Rider Silver. He's got some really nice looking figures. He's done a Gabra set, Gamera, the Rebirth Baby Gamera set, like I said, the Gargantuas. Sometimes he does painted figures. I was recently just saying I really wish he would do more painted figures. I'm like, I really want the Gargantua set. And he's like, if you really want, just give me a shot. I could give you a price and I could do that for you. Because I'm like, sometimes, I don't feel comfortable painting. Like, I just don't. I'm just scared to mess it up. Like, I'm like, now I just paid for this thing and I'm gonna paint it and do a bad job. I'm not a great painter when it comes to things like that, or I don't want it to bubble on me. So he did offer to do that. So if there's anything you ever want, I mean, feel free to ask him. It doesn't hurt. He might be able to do it for you. And he's got quite a vast array of different figures, dioramas, and stuff. There was somebody on a Facebook group looking to get a diorama set for the -1 figure, and I sent it to him, and they were like, "Oh my god, this is perfect." So yeah, check out Kamen Rider Silver if you want to see Foodlossalla's figure printed and you have a 3D printer. Go for it. It's free. And like I said, if you have not seen this short yet, we'll be linking it down below. Really cool. And anything else on it, Dan?
No, yeah, I thought it was great, and looking to reducing food waste. That's the message to take away from it.
It is, absolutely.
We have another short film that was kind of unexpected. I don't even know how you found this, but it is by
Kaiju United was like the first one breaking it, and I saw it that morning, and I sent it straight over to you, and I was like, oh man, this is awesome.
This is the type of I'm just gonna hype it up for a second. This is the type of stuff that like before I was married would keep me up until like 4:00 in the morning because I'd be going down the YouTube rabbit hole of like conspiracy video stuff and all that stuff. It is a short film by Danny Donahue. It is Godzilla 8mm found footage is the title of the Analog Horror, I think is the name of like the series. Yeah. It is so good.
Yeah.
For like I think it's like what is it, like 4 minutes?
I think it's like 2 minutes and 38 seconds or something like that.
Really?
It's not even that long.
Yeah, it felt so substantial.
I think there's some credits after it.
I might have watched it twice. Maybe
I've watched it a couple of times. It was really
like one after the other. Like as soon as I finished watching it, I watched it.
Yeah, it was really well made. And Danny Donahue, the creator of this, also has 3 other really quick shorts. They're like 15 to 30-second shorts of the MonsterVerse Godzilla, and it's just like sort of found footage. One of it's just like somebody like down on the street, another one's from like an office building, another one's another down on the street one with some really great shots and just animation. And he's got other horror themed shorts on the channel as well that are like found footage. He's got like I can't think of what the name of the monster was, but some really cool stuff on there. Definitely worth checking out if you're into the found footage stuff. It reminded me of there was a series on Netflix called Project 88, and it was about this guy who had to restore like old VHS tapes, and he was finding all this sketchy stuff. This reminded me of it. Like, so basically the story behind this short is in 1954, this guy Henry Hill had this encounter at a lighthouse. Which is a really great thing about this, because I had like the whole lighthouse, Godzilla, dark gray night. It just had this foghorn vibe to it, or just like the Beast from 10,000 Leagues Below the Sea, or 10,000 Fathoms, with the whole lighthouse scene. So he's at this lighthouse, and out in the ocean he sees this dark black mountain, and he describes it. And it's just coming closer and closer, and he's just scared. And he's just describing this whole experience, and the footage shows it's Godzilla clearly approaching. He's just hiding behind the lighthouse and walks by and just crushes, I believe it's a Corvette or something. This takes place in, like I said, took place in the 50s, 1954. And throughout this whole thing, he's kind of narrating it. It's 1960 now. He's talking about this footage that he took, and he's coughing throughout it. He's saying he's had all these health problems since the encounter, and it's all because of Godzilla's radiation. Kind of just gave him, I would assume, cancer and who knows what else. And what else is really cool about this is that the ambient radiation causes the film to burn up, kind of like what happened at the beginning in Godzilla 2000 when the photographer, the reporter, she was trying to get pictures of him, and they got like point blank range with them, and her camera shots just got destroyed. That's what happened to here. Luckily, he had the beginning of the film, and it ends there. But this was supposedly all this recordings and everything was released in 2024 because the government said it needed to be released to the public. Yeah. But it turns out after this whole thing, he died 3 months later. So basically after his encounter with Godzilla, he died 6 years later, which is pretty disturbing.
Just from being around from
health conditions.
Just being around for seconds.
Yeah.
I really liked the design of the Godzilla in this.
Yeah.
It was like a mix of like GMK and the Heisei era Godzilla. I took like the best bits of both of them and kind of mashed them together.
I felt like the feet reminded me of -1 even.
Yeah, I
they were like really big,
this design,
clunky feet. Yeah, I mean you don't get a amazing look at it because it's supposed to be old 8mm film. What you mostly see is the eyes. You get a decent enough look, like it's nighttime, but it is a absolutely cool design. I can't wait to see what else he's got in store for us. I mean, this is like the second found footage project I've seen in the last year or so, because there was also that Godzilla vs. the Griffin one.
Yes,
with Zilla in it, which was also awesome.
Yeah, based on that movie that never got made.
Yeah. I mean, there's some really impressive artists out there right now putting out some great animation, and this was just, I was just awestruck. I was like, wow.
Yeah, this is a top tier. I hope more people see this and give it a shot. I know. I mean, it's already done pretty well on it. You know, it's got like 50,000 views already, but this needs to like go around the fandom.
Yeah,
this
I said
to be.
Yeah, I sent it to my friend Jimmy this morning because he's a really big Cloverfield fan. And I'm like, this dude would make an incredible Cloverfield movie.
Yeah, he understood like the found footage genre so well. Like it's like one of my favorite movie genres, and he just like got it. Like
it was emotionally like a very chilling video too. Like it is everything, just not even just the footage of it, just even if you didn't watch it and listened to it like a radio special or something, it would be pretty damn chilling. It was very well done. The voice acting, everything was really impressive.
Yeah. One of my favorite things about like the found footage genre is which isn't in everything. I like the ones where you're seeing the footage, which is more common in YouTube videos, where you're seeing the footage and you have post-interview audio over that footage, kind of like, he was just chilling and like all that stuff. Like it like adds to the creepiness. Like you need to watch this in a dark room. Like, this just absolutely. Like instantly clicked with me.
Yeah, that I honestly. Like I said, I would love to see a Cloverfield movie done in that style. I know a couple years back, they said the real Cloverfield 2 sequel is coming, but I don't know if it's going to be found footage. I don't know what it's going to be.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I haven't heard anything about it.
Yeah, I think it's still in pre-production. You know, I'm looking forward to that movie just because I am a big Cloverfield fan, but it was very strange with the third movie. They kind of had like a stop-start moment with the alternate reality game that accompanies these movies, and they kind of stopped, and then the movie just kind of came out, and you know, maybe it's because it was a little bit more lackluster. It was a Netflix movie.
Yeah,
people weren't as interested in it, and it doesn't. It's the only movie in the series that doesn't have a 4K release. It's just. Which we're lucky enough we got a Blu-ray of it. It's a Netflix movie, but it's just very. It was a low point for the series, hype-wise, I guess.
And wasn't it also just stated that it's like, it's just not connected either?
So it is. John Goodman's character's brother is in the beginning of this movie. It's still connected to all the Tagrawato stuff, but it's just. There's a lot of alternate world universe stuff going on in that movie, so it's like attached, but like tangentially, you know, could be a sequel, could be an alternate story off in the distance. A lot of questions still brewing about that. A lot of fan theory stuff around that. You can watch hours and hours of stuff online about the Cloverfield universe.
I mean, there's just 3 movies. I mean, which is a lot of movies, but. Yeah, the conspiracy and fan theories behind those 3 movies is just through the roof.
And they breed it with those alternate reality games. They want that from the fans.
Yeah.
That's because they want that type of engagement from those movies.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the big selling point of it is all this backstory that all these fans you can just generally face value watch these.
Yeah.
But then there's also a lot of backstory that you might not even know about, because you watch Cloverfield 2, 10 Cloverfield thing, and you're just like, well, what did that have to do with anything?
Yeah.
And then it turns out that John Goodman's character is this big conspiracy theory nut. He worked for Tagrawato's Air Force Division, and he knew that the aliens were coming, and he was probably doing the research on Clover, and like...
Yeah. No, it's pretty crazy how all these things connect, and it's fun when fans could talk. At least it's been a while. I mean, at least they have something to thrive off of between movies.
Yes, yeah, and that's usually what they do. It's usually like a year before, like when they announce the movie, they usually start the game, and then the game lasts until usually a week before the movie releases.
Yeah.
But
and then there's like viral campaigns and everything.
Exactly.
They've done a good job with these movies, so I'm looking forward to where that goes as well.
Yeah. Definitely going to be subscribing to this though. I love found footage, so this is like a must watch.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I guess that concludes our kind of mini review section / news, even though it wasn't really part of the news. But yeah, go out, watch that short. We're going to be transitioning over to our Ultraman Blazar episodes 18 and 19, another two-parter. Really big 2 episodes because it really started getting, like the first episode somewhat, but then 19 really started getting into the what really happened here of the big Blazar mystery of what government agents are working for the aliens, what's going on here. We get a lot about Emmy's family's backstory here. So we start off episode 18 with this new kaiju just emerging. It's called just Ergo, which is just a very really easy name to remember. Starts spewing out all this smoke, and it kind of just looks like this hand puppet coming out of the ground. It's not a hand puppet, but it looks like it is. It's like a snake head with like 2 faces on each jaw, kind of.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of in the city. It's not destroying anything, but it's polluting. It's causing all of this gas. Pollution, poisonous gas that's out there. And
it's not destroying anything either. It's literally just like standing there, just
causing pollution.
And it's not constantly pumping it out either, which is weird.
Yeah, it comes in waves.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, it's time to just shoot some gas.
Which they get into that later, why it's not constantly doing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can go.
Yeah. So they're kind of just at the base talking about it, but their captain comes in and they're right off the bat ordered just to stand down and stop investigating it, which is kind of weird. Like they're like, yeah, just stay away from Ergo. You're not to be involved with it. But Gento and Enemy suspect that this might be the beginning of the 3rd wave, so he sends her on her own to go start investigating it further. And he's kind of like, yeah, I'm not going to listen to that order. He's like, because we're eventually going to get called into this mess, so I want to be prepared for it.
Yeah,
so he's
I think he's starting to suspect the director and higher-ups of being involved in this conspiracy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but it's the he's not the director, he's the chief. I keep calling him the director. Yeah. The director is the person that we see later on.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. So yeah, Emmy goes on her way, and she starts investigating. And sure enough, the GGF is handling it, and they handle it by launching an attack on it. They send tanks, and it just kind of pisses off Ergo, and it spews more gas. It grabs a tank and it throws it into the sky. And it's just causing damage now. So Scar says, screw it, we're deploying Earth Garen. And they do that. And then Emmy, she gets a lead that there's this Professor Nishizaki. She had this locket that she had...
She didn't get it yet.
Oh, no.
Yeah, she didn't get it yet.
That's at the end of the episode, yeah. I'm skipping around here. She knew that he was connected to the work with her dad. So she sets out looking for him, and she finds him pretty quickly because she's Emmy and she's just good at her spy job and getting her information and recon. And he's kind of pissed that she stops him. She's like, leave me alone, I don't want to talk to you. And he refuses to answer any questions. And Earth Garen finally arrives after being dispatched, and
they retrofit him with basically they retrofit his engines with these air filters that filter out the Ergo gas. And so basically Earth-Garon isn't fighting Ergo. He's just kind of standing there, sucking in all the city air, trying to clean it up.
Yeah,
And
he's basically a giant air purifier.
yes, which just as a side note, how depressing is it that we have to have a Ultraman episode about air purifiers? Because it's like it's a normal thing now. Like you need air purifiers, like
Yeah.
all the time. It's just like yeah, have air purifier, yeah, no problem, yeah.
We have
They're all over
crappy
the house.
allergies, crappy air quality. Yeah.
Yeah, wildfires all the time. Like
Yeah.
you just need air purifiers as a common thing now that people just have.
Yeah, when that wildfire stuff came blowing down here last year, oh my god.
Yeah.
That was...
Yeah, we were lucky because I was over in Jersey, but
Oh,
when we
yeah.
came back, they had that little second wave that was pretty
Yeah.
bad.
Oh
And
my God.
like Emmy was one of these people that were just out there just going in raw on this polluted
It's
air.
true. It's
Her
true.
and the
Yes.
scientists were the only characters not
Yeah.
wearing a mask.
Yeah, that's
All the other
true.
main cast were wearing masks.
You know what? That's really true. I did not realize that. Oh my god.
Because we're gonna cut back to the fight here because it actually gets resolved decently quick, but still takes some time. Ultraman Blazar, so they clean up the air so much that Ergo transforms into Gabalga, which was that EMP monster from a few episodes back, and it just stays in its ball form, so it's not releasing the EMPs, but it starts like bouncing off things, destroying and attacking Blazar. Blazar is getting kind of whipped because then a bunch of Ergos start coming out of the ground. It's like catching his hands. He's trying to fight off Gabalga. And this is kind of the first time Earthy starts to get a little bit involved with this. This is the first time that Earthy kind of feels useful. Like Earth-Garon was actually taking down enemies and fighting with Blazar, just not also being there. It's just kind of like the first like actual real good team up. I've been wanting to see this for a while.
I'm thinking that the Earthy AI is actually like a huge upgrade for Earth-Garon, where I guess this Scar team just piloting by human alone was just not enough.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's really helping them with these fights. And another thing that we kind of missed going through here is throughout this episode, we kept seeing Gento go back and forth with his wife. His son June's kind of bummed that he hasn't been home, and his son June made him a bracelet that he hadn't worn. He kind of just left it there by the TV stand, and now he's wearing that to work. And his wife calls him. She's like, he's having a bad day again, and would you better come home early? And he's like, no, yeah, I'll definitely come home. And then all this hits the fan, and it's like, yeah, I'm not going to be home early. I'm going to be home a lot later than I thought.
Yeah.
So, yeah, before the whole fight goes down, the subway's collapsing, and he does help a GGF team out of a collapsed subway by blasting it open. And there was a news crew with the GGF team when the initial attack happened, and he gets caught on camera doing that. And his wife still thinks that he's just an engineer, and this kind of blows up his spotlight. But we'll get back to that later on.
Yeah, I think it's episode 2.
No, that's this episode.
Oh, that's this episode?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That was this
they were
episode.
so linked together. I was like,
it is.
And there's like
it
3
is.
storylines going on at the same time.
Yeah, there was a lot going on with these 2 episodes. So we should have stated this is a 2-parter, but it's like a walk-in 2-parter. Like, so, yeah, they keep fighting. The 2 of them kind of whip up these Erigos and the Gabalga.
Yeah.
That we find out that Erigo is kind of the Gabalga larva, and the chief gets told that the chief is the older guy, not the director that we've been talking about. I'm losing his name now. Dobashi, yes, Director Dobashi, not the chief, gets told that Emmy has approached the Dr. Nizaki, and he goes, all right, it's about time. He's like, I think we're going to get close to some answers here.
Yeah.
And so those Erigo are defeated, and Gento goes home, and he's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I'm late," and his wife's like, "No, that's okay." She's like, "June's actually happy," and she's like, "Happy? What's he happy about?" And she's like, "He saw you on the news." He's like, "The news?" And then the footage is there of him rescuing the subway, and they're like, "Listen, we know you're doing this. He thinks you're a hero now, but just be careful." She's like, "You got to remember you have a family," and then he's kind of like, "All right, yeah." And then you think it's all done. You think the Gabalga's done, the Irigo's done. But no, two more shoot out of the ground and the credits roll.
Yeah. So into episode 19, it opens up with Emmy. Well, Gento's at the cafe and Emmy kind of sneaks up on him. She gets a locket from the doctor, and it's just like a picture of her with her wrong birthday on it, and it's basically like her dad was just not that great with dates, and his favorite scientist had a birthday the day after hers. So her birthday's actually today, not tomorrow. And yes. They're just like, "Oh, happy birthday," and then she's just like, "Oh yeah, he told me about this black hole, this wormhole device, and it got out of control. It was an alien device, and we're going to be, kind of investigating it. Like that's what was going on at that hangar."
Yeah, she had said that like they had found this device. They were brought. The device originally was from America, and it was brought to Japan. And her dad was the lead scientist on this project. And that day, when we've been seeing the flashbacks of Gento meeting Blazar and everything, her dad was one of the scientists there, but he was at the epicenter of this wormhole, and he got sucked into it. So they're like, "Oh, this locket has to be something. There's got to be more to this locket than that." So they kind of put two and two together. She goes to this base and starts looking around on her own. We eventually find out at the end about that, but let's move on to what's going on with the Erigo.
The plot of these episodes are so jumping around because they're covering a bunch of storylines at the same time. So, last episode we saw two Ergos pop out of the ground. Now they're like everywhere.
Yeah,
they're like
literally
clogging the wire systems. They're all over the city, and the commander's at the base, and he's like, "You guys, we have, we're in such big trouble right now because you guys disobeyed my orders. You went out without my approval, and you are to stay here and not do anything about this stuff."
And then, like, once again, we got this alien on our hand just intervening and everything, Blazar. And then the team kind of stands up for Ultraman Blazar. They're like, "Listen, Blazar hasn't been showing us up." They're like, "We work together with him now. He's a member of our team now." And then Gento gets a little flash of his Blazar coin, and, like, Blazar kind of, like, gives him a little jolt as, like, "Oh, wow, I'm on the team." And, anyway, the captain's like, "Listen, your team's grounded. You can't do anything." But once again, we've seen that throughout the series. That doesn't mean anything to them.
Yeah, they don't listen to him.
Yeah.
So, again, they go out. They dispatch Earth Garon, and they're trying to figure out like what's going on with now there's a giant brooding Gabalga, which is basically a Gabalga that's like 2-3 times the size of regular Gabalga.
It's even bigger. It's like
towering.
Yeah, it's gigantic. It dwarfs
Ultraman. It's just
Ultraman,
like huge.
The Irigo were using this giant communication space as a hive, and that's where this giant brood Gabalga rose out of. So the team's like, "Yeah, we got another Tilsonite spear ready for this one. We're gonna do it big this time." So brood Gabalga is just like we said, massive, destroying the city. So and he puts out the EMP. So they jump into the action, and the EMP takes down Earth Garon, and Gento was like, "Oh crap, I gotta get into action here." He turns into Ultraman, pulls out the Tilsonite sword, and it gets shattered like instantly by Gabalga. It's unaffected, so Ultraman does not have his Tilsonite sword anymore, and then on top of that, Gabalga kind of like bends down and just like eats Blazar, like absorbs him. So Ultraman is now inside Gabalga, and Emmy has gone back to that facility where the experiment happened, and there's some weird action going on where the black hole was formed, and it's like freaking out. The facility starts shaking, and out of this black hole comes this giant phoenix-like kaiju burning, freaking out, and it goes nuts, and it wants to break free, so it gets out of the facility and goes all the way to the city where Ultraman's fighting Gabalga.
Yeah, and I think one of the things to note about this facility is that they show what the black hole looked like in a flashback, and it looks just like the black hole that Gento saw when he first meets Blazar. It's the same looking black hole, and they said that this machine was supposed to get them to communicate with the end of the universe. So that very well could be like basically where Blazar came from, was probably the activation of this.
Yeah.
And Emmy's dad is there, and he helps her, but he's like a force
she like
ghost.
trips. Yeah. Yeah, like she like trips and then she like gets picked up by him, and he doesn't say a word to her though
until like the very end.
And yeah,
he says like, "I'm proud of you," or something.
Yeah.
And then he just disintegrates into blue dust.
Yeah. And did he say, no? He actually says "Happy Birthday" and disappears. I think that's all he says.
Yeah, it was like, it was very weird and unexplained.
Yeah. So yeah, it really was weird. I don't know if he was like just there, like if he, I don't know. Well, we'll get back to that towards the end and theorize about that. But let's get back to what's going on here. So this giant phoenix thing breaks out of the facility, flies by all these Urigo that have sprouted up, and they just disintegrate at the touch of this thing. And it gets to the Gabalga. Ultraman gets free, and he now gets a new coin. And then he grabs the Tilsonite spear from Earth Garon, and he repairs his sword. He now has a new sword, but now combined with this new kaiju phoenix thing.
It's almost like a bow staff sword, spear on the bottom,
it's
dagger
like
thing. It's awesome.
The Tilsonite sword now has a like fiery spear thing on the bottom, and Ultraman Blazar is now like super OP, like.
It's like God mode, basically.
Yeah, God mode, and he just destroys this Gabalga like that. Like, it's over.
Yeah.
And so after Emmy's dad disappears and says happy birthday, she finds a lockbox and a key in the base. Well, she finds a key to a lockbox, and sure enough, she opens the lockbox. It contains a journal about the experiments. They were trying to find the objective of V99, the alien whatever on the other side. And that's when Director Deboshi walks into the room and takes the journal and thanks them for all their hard work. He's been trying to track this journal down for years, and she finally found it. And he goes, oh, I've also suspended the chief of staff as well. And he's like, yeah, you guys are free are able to go free. And Emmy's like, this is the last remaining thing I have of my dad is this journal. And he's like, yeah, you should just go. Yeah. So they leave, and they kind of talk about this whole Phoenix thing, and Gento ends up naming it, what's he name it? I wrote it down here.
It's like Firedrand.
Yeah, Firedrand. Yes.
Yeah, Firedrand. And yeah, that's basically the end of the episode. One of the... it's like, obviously they're going to explain this. We have 6 more episodes left. But it's just like, obviously the higher-ups of SCARD and GGF, they're involved directly with, like, the aliens or causing this alien invasion or something. Or they are aliens. I wouldn't be surprised if they're Zetan or something. I don't know. But, like, why make these organizations that fight against them and direct them Because even the director was just like, yeah, you can resume your normal SCARD duties. Because the chief of staff was like suspending them. Like no, you guys are grounded. You guys aren't doing anything. Yeah. And he's just like, yeah, go do whatever you want. I don't care. Like, you're not going to affect my plans at all.
Yeah.
So it's just very like, what is going on here?
Yeah, I don't know if the chief or I don't know. I feel like one of them is trying to cover it up while the other one is trying to move it forward. So I don't know who's doing what. I feel like the chief was trying to cover it up, but the director's like, listen, yeah, whatever. You got an idea of what's going on now, and it still doesn't affect anything that's going to happen with my plans.
It's very strange, and obviously this is probably going to get explained in future episodes, but...
And then when it comes to Emmy's dad, like, I don't know, like, is he alive on the other end of that black hole, but, like, he's been there so long, like,
probably?
He doesn't possess the energy to fully come through or something?
I have no idea.
Or is he just really dead and his spirit was just lingering in that black hole? Like, that was, like you said, there was little to no explanation about that part there. And if that's the last time we see her dad, or she sees her dad... But, yeah, 2 crazy episodes that were basically like one long episode with lots of different plot lines and things going on and questions getting answered and more coming up for the series. I mean, we're getting there. I believe, like, the movie is premiering very soon. I believe maybe even tomorrow. I mean, right now it's tomorrow in Japan while we're recording this. There is a Ultraman. I'm trying to blank here now. 7 Sun. It's the 15th Ultra 7 Sun. It's the 15-year anniversary of his Zero. Am I?
Oh! I thought you were saying it was called Ultra 7 Sun.
Yeah,
I was like, I have no idea what you're talking
Zero?
about. Yeah, Ultraman Zero, yes.
Yeah, it's the 15-year anniversary of his series. I think they're going to be doing something for that. But there's been rumblings, copyrights, and lots of names being trademarked by Soberaya. The next series, I believe, is going to be called Ultraman Arc. It's got a lot of very angelic and different kaiju and aliens named after angelic things and beings. The rumors on a lot of the forums and pages very early today is that trailer might be dropping for the next series, like, imminently. Like, by the time we get this review out or this episode of the podcast out, there might be a trailer for the next Ultra series. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. I don't quite know what the status is on the movie and where that's going to be streaming, if it's going to be streaming. It would be a real bummer if they gave us this whole series and we don't get to see the movie on YouTube.
Yeah, so as of right now, the movie has premiered in Japan. That was back in February. Actually, today it's premiered in Indonesia.
Yes.
Later this month, Taiwan, and then mid-April is going to be Hong Kong. They have not announced an English release or anything yet.
Yeah,
but that sounds like they're doing theaters.
Yes, they're like touring it almost too.
So maybe eventually we'll get some type of stream, or it might be like available on YouTube for like a rental or something. Yeah. I would hope so, because it's like, why would you go through the whole issue of doing an English dub and giving it away for free, and then having the movie and it just not be available?
Yeah, yeah.
Or, hey, this is just speculation. If you want to see the movie, buy the Blu-ray set.
Yeah.
With the English dub on it.
I think it's about time.
I can't imagine them doing this and then not setting up some type of deal with a company for them to release this. Like, what would be the end game?
Yeah. And then, yesterday, speaking of Blu-rays, I texted you last night about the whole Gomorrah tweet that Mill Creek put out, and they were tweeting the Ultraman powered Gomorrah, but they just kept responding, we just like him, and everyone's like, is there an Ultraman powered set coming? Is there an Ultraman powered set? And they just kept, we just like him. They were like trolling everybody. Yeah. But then they followed up that tweet with a retweet of the regular Ultraman Gomorrah. So I don't know if the guy that handles their social media just screwed up and
I think he just picked
tweeted
a
out
random
an
Gamora.
Ultraman powered Gamora. Because that is a really crappy tweet to put out and get everybody excited.
It's
Especially-
I'm telling you,
especially
it's going to be
if you- If
it's
yeah,
going to be
especially
one of
if,
these kaiju sets.
yeah, if it's going to be one of these kaiju battle sets, that's going to
It's
piss
gonna
off
be
a
this.
lot of people after that tweet. Yeah,
It's going to be this.
yeah,
Guarantee it.
sure, whatever.
I hope it's not. I mean,
I hope it's not too.
if they
I
get
mean,
Ultraman powered, I would be amazed.
yeah,
But
it's about time. It's been over a year since they've released a new Ultraman series on Blu-ray, DVD, anything. I mean, we've just been getting these kaiju battle sets, and
I didn't even get the last one.
yeah,
I'm sorry.
I didn't get any of them. I don't see the appeal to it. I have everything that they put out already.
Yeah.
It's just like a money grab. I mean, maybe if I saw it for $5, I'd grab it, but it's
I got the Red King set because they were not very upfront with what was on the disc as far as that first
No.
live appearance, and it was the same thing that was on a previous set. So the
Yeah.
whole set is not new content.
no. That live appearance thing was a deep discount exclusive at first, but since then they've pumped it out on other things, so it's
Yeah.
a bit of a bummer on that, but
Yeah.
who knows? Maybe we're wrong. Maybe they're really giving us Ultraman powered, and hopefully we get Blazar on Blu-ray. I mean, we're getting new Kamen Rider series on Blu-ray, so I really hope somebody picks it up here. I mean, we had Shin Ultraman show here. We have this in English. Netflix is doing Ultraman Rising. I think it's time we start getting Ultraman here regularly.
Yes, I agree. I like that it's on YouTube for free. I think that's great. But if they're going to be doing these dubs, I hope they fully support it. I don't understand why all the advertisements that are on the English version of the episode are for stuff that we can't get. Why? Why do
I guess I don't know. I guess because it's still technically on their channel for Japanese. We're just getting the English track. We could still select the Japanese with subs if we wanted.
I get it, but just it just feels like you're missing a portion of the audience
I guess
that
it's
you
a
could
way.
be selling to.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
That's absolutely true.
but
I guess we'll have to see what they do with it from here on out. I mean,
yeah, no, I'm excited for the series. I just
yeah.
want the best for Ultraman.
No, me too. Absolutely.
Yeah, and if they have to dub the Gridman universe movie themselves as well, do it. I want it.
I really want that damn movie, man. I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's crazy that it's been out.
It
For
sounds like they're doing a sequel series, Gridman. I sent you
Dude, it's like a touring series. I don't think it's actually it's like a series of tours. I don't know what it was. I just don't know what they're doing with
I
it.
just saw every
It's-
character or reincarnation of characters that had passed
on that poster, yeah.
with a henshin device on themselves, and I'm just like, first off, is this spoilers for the movie? I hope it's
Yeah.
not. And I'm like, secondly, what's up with, is this I sent it to you and you're like, I think it's a touring thing. I don't know if it's a TV show.
They were very vague in the description for that Ultraman, for that SS Gridman universe thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
I really don't know.
Hopefully
It's
something.
not had a lot of press, unfortunately.
I haven't seen anything about that movie. The trailer dropped last October, 2 Octobers ago.
Yeah.
And
It
then,
was shown in theaters. People loved it over there, but we didn't get to see it.
Yeah,
I
I don't get it.
And there's a Blu-ray release of it in Japanese with no subtitles. You could import it if you want, but you kind of just left up to watch it if you don't speak Japanese.
You just kind of try to understand.
And there's no
what's going on.
subtitles. Yeah, it's kind of just guess the plot, but I feel like there was a lot you needed to know.
Yeah, there's a lot of nuance with world
Yeah.
building and stuff.
Yeah. So it's not just something that you can just watch without subs or anything.
Yeah.
I don't know. Hopefully we get it. We have to wait a while for Dyna Zenon, so I'm hoping that we get the movie by the end of the year or some sort of announcement.
Yeah.
You never know. You never know at this point.
Yeah. And I guess we're going to transition over to Kaijus and Cowboys issue number 3 review.
Yeah.
Another action-packed issue. A lot of stuff going on here.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like at this point in the series, what's going on in the story right now, just seems like every issue is just going to be like we're hitting the ground running and we're running right into the next issue, and that's how this issue felt like.
Yeah.
This was a super fast read.
Yeah, and I feel like, again, I think I've prefaced this with every single review that we've done for this. It might sound very quick when we're going over it, but there is so much visually going on here.
Yes.
That you need to just see it. You have to read it because we can't explain all the action. Like, it's just too much. Like, it's just so much action.
Yeah.
That.
It is a very visual story.
Going over the plot just doesn't quite.
It doesn't do it justice. I mean,
it does not do it justice.
The bullet points that I have here on my screen for it there's not a lot because it's just very fast paced. It's just a lot of action.
It's 28 pages and it goes by very, very quickly.
Yeah,
and it's very exciting and it's very like serialized. Very like, all right, we'll see you on the next one.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, that's exactly how it feels. It's like, oh crap, we gotta get to the next one now.
They always leave you wanting more for the next one.
Oh yeah, they leave you hungry. I mean, they feed you, but then you're like, oh, I want more of that. Yeah. You got any more of that?
Yeah. So, basically, to just summarize the last issue, Bot with No Name has discovered a troop of other hunters. They're fighting this horde of kaijus. Or natives to the planet, depending on what your perspective is. And they find it out that the giant seismic activity that's going on is not earthquakes. They are on a giant mountainous kaiju. So now it is essentially a race to the bottom to get back to the city so they could try to save it.
Yeah. So Hunter Bot just takes off and he leaves the other Hunter Bots there, and he gets back to his wagon, and the wagon makes this cool, like, hollow bridge, and it crosses this giant crevasse. He shoots over it. The other ones catch up, and Doc's like, see, I told you he'd be over here. And Doc quickly, like, patches him up because the Hunter Bot took some damage. And the Doc, he can't make the jump over that canyon, so one of the other Hunter Bots helps him make the jump, and just more swarms of kaiju come, and they're just beating on kaiju through this. And Bot with No Name, he's just like, we gotta get to the father mind and warn him. And the other Hunter Bots make a comment about, like, this guy doesn't talk, and Doc's like, oh, I can take a look at that and try to fix that for you. So I'm wondering if we're finally gonna, or eventually gonna hear Hunter Bot talk. I mean, he's just been a silent character throughout the series, but where we have these three other Hunter Bots, we have it's like a samurai, and the other one looks like sort of inspired by like a World War-ish type of soldier, and the third one's just like this crazy over the top like
aerial
bird-looking woman. I would say woman robot, lady robot.
Yeah, and one of the things I like about Hunter Bot, and I hope he does get to start to speak soon, just so we can kind of get a little bit more of his perspective. It hasn't been a big deal yet, because kind of Doc's been his voice.
Yeah.
But it's cool to see, like, while he isn't as capable as the newer bots, because he does have that base station with the steed, he has anti-aerial, just like the flying one. He can traverse large distances. He can't fly, but he can traverse large distances with the cart, with his hollow bridge, and like he's just as capable as them. But because it's on a base station, and actually he was kind of a little bit better than the aerial one because he had anti-air weaponry, so actually able to save them.
Yeah. Can he fly though? I think he could fly like a short range. I thought.
Yeah, I think it was like a short range, but like these ones, they have like flying capability.
Like the flying one is like a jet where he's just kind of like, I could fly, but like not as fast as you.
Glide. It's not quite as. It's not his main mode of transport.
Yeah. He uses the wagon because if he could fly, he'd just fly everywhere. Yeah, you're right.
Exactly. Which it adds to the whole cowboy feel.
Yeah, he's got a massive arsenal.
Yeah. So like if he was able to fly, like it's not really cowboy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he can pull it out, he can glide, he can hover, stuff like that. Like I know he's like remember when his head got popped off in issue 0, like he's able to like recover himself and all that stuff. But yeah, just really cool. A lot of action going on in this one, and
yeah. Like I said, like we blew through the plot there, but there is just a lot in this book. So
yeah,
it's.
If we were trying to explain step by step, move from
of the fight,
of the fight. Like it doesn't do it justice. Like no,
he's just got such a cool arsenal. It's just like he's like a John Wick kind of, you know. He's just like beating on these kaiju, and will they make it to the Fathermind City is the big question. We're gonna have to find out April 15th. Well, a little after April 15th. April 15th is the launch of the issue 4 campaign, which we are absolutely looking forward to. I can't wait to see what they have for this. Frankie B and Matt, we were talking to them recently because we are probably going to have them on the show to promote the campaign while it's running. And he teased us with some of the goodies that they're going to have. He tweeted out today, actually, some coasters, bottle openers. He's got the mystery bags back with some sketch cards. I think I gave that one away. I should not have said that one. And he showed us some covers, too. I won't spoil that. So some really cool stuff coming for this campaign, and I can't wait to see what other goodies they have, because they always have a lot of things, stickers and all that. I love the cards. I don't think we got a new card to this campaign though. I don't know if there was a new card.
The only card was the cover card.
Yes,
at least for me.
Yeah, but like the trading cards, I love the trading cards, and I did get the Gorgo sketch card, which. Oh, I can't reach it right now. But it's somewhere in here, and Frankie did a fantastic job on that. I think this time around I'll probably commission another sketch card. I have a couple ideas I've been throwing around.
Yeah.
But fantastic work.
Yeah, it really is fantastic. And if you're interested in reading these, they're available on Global Comics. We're going to have links down below. And also Indie Planet, some issues getting issue 3 up. It's not quite available up there yet. But I'm sure also when they have their Kickstarter, they always have like a catch-up tier.
Yes.
Where you can get like the whole series and everything. I'm sure that's going to be available as well.
Yeah.
So you're going to have multiple options to get this.
Yes. And they also have print on demand as well.
Yeah, that's on Indie Planet.
Yes.
For the print on demand, if you want to get those print on demand issues.
Yeah. But the campaign issues, as Frankie and Matt had said in the past, are always going to have something a little extra more than the print-on-demand ones, a little better quality print and covers and all that. So I really highly suggest you go with the campaign ones. But if you really can't wait, which is awesome, if you can't wait, good for you. Go pick up those print-on-demand ones, pick up the digital ones, and definitely support this project. We are going to be 4 issues in. Technically, it's going to be the 5th issue if you count issue 0. But this
6
is going
if
to be
you count the spinoff.
Yes, plus the spinoff, yeah. So, yeah, we're almost at that halfway mark. We're gonna get issue 4 this year. What else are we? Are we getting issue 5 this year as well? Are we gonna do 4?
Yeah,
5,
I think they were doing 2 issues this year.
Oh, so
I
it's
think that's the
issue
plan.
4 and 5. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So we're getting issue 4 and 5 this year. Maybe they'll squeeze in issue 6. I don't know, but really looking forward to it. If you want to follow Frankie B, Matt Blair, and Cambrian Comics, they have tons of social media to follow them on. So Frankie B. Washington and Matt Blair, we'll link that up down below. And I really hope you guys dig this comic series like we do, because it's really just action packed, and I'm really looking forward to having those two back on the show to talk about this.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I'm hoping on the next issue. If they do, I'm hoping that they do get the Fathermind, and we get a little bit more history or backstory, or even just current, Fathermind thoughts on this whole situation.
Yeah.
Because I think by the end of the year we're gonna be hitting the halfway mark on this series.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're about to hit the peak. I think either issue 4 or 6. There's gonna, I mean, 5 or 6 is going to be like a peak. There's going to be a turning point moment or something's gonna. I feel like.
Yeah, it's like going to be like a mid-season, like a mid-season finale almost, right?
Yeah.
So who knows? I don't know what their
feeling.
plans are, but like I said, we're always looking forward to these guys putting out new comics. So be sure to check them out.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess we're going to be going on to the main event. Going from Kaijus to Cowboys to Kaijus and Dinosaurs with Valley of Gwangi.
Cowboys and dinosaurs, not Kaijus and dinosaurs.
What? Oh yeah, Cowboys and Dinosaurs. I'm sorry, I messed that up.
Yeah, the 1969 movie. Really interesting movie. It's got the Ray Harryhausen special effects. With a pretty interesting cast. Gila Golan is I believe she's an Israeli actor. She plays the female lead of T.J. Breckenridge, and then we have Gustavo Rojas as Carlos, and then our main male lead is James Franciscus, who plays Tuck Kirby. I mentioned Gustavo Rojas as Carlos because he got dubbed over, and so did Gila Golan. Her accent was apparently really heavy that they just dubbed over it, even though she spoke English. And same thing for the actor who played Carlos. His voice actor actually got credited. Hers didn't. Which I think is kind of weird because there's also, it's kind of similar to the whole Linda Miller thing with King Kong Escapes, where because she wasn't an actress, she was a model at the time, that there was a whole like Actors Guild thing where she wasn't allowed to be talking or whatever.
Basically, the entire cast of that movie was dubbed over except for the main character,
the main male lead.
Yeah,
but like she spoke English. She spoke her lines in the movies perfectly fine, but they dubbed her over just because some weird.
Because they want Rankin Bass to do it. Basically.
Yeah.
This movie, I felt like, while lacking on plot, was an absolute masterclass of the Ray Harryhausen special effects. About 2-3 weeks ago, I watched Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, which is about like 10 years, actually almost 15 years older than this movie. Around there. Let me see when that came out. But anyway, you can really see the difference in these two movies. It's so much more impressive in Valley of Gwangi, the stop motion. It's very cool, and of course the main thing that everybody always talks about on this is the dinosaur, I guess I forget what they call it, but like the rodeo where they're like capturing it with all these ropes.
Yes.
It's such an impressive sight to see because it's like the story behind how they actually filmed that was actually 6 months of work.
Yeah, to
do that. And basically what they did was, I mean, we can talk about it when we get up to there, but essentially it involved jeeps, ropes, and then 6 months of Ray doing stop motion photography and just doing cell animation over shots, and it was just insane.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I guess do you want to start getting into the plot, or is there anything else you want to get into?
Well, just one of the other like interesting facts about this movie is it did receive a comic book adaptation as well. I was kind of trying to seek it out. It's a bit pricey, the comic book adaptation. It's supposed to take place in Mexico. It was filmed in Spain, and this was actually written by Willis O'Brien, who worked on the King Kong special effects back in 1933. It was originally going to be called The Valley of the Mist, and it was going to serve almost as a sequel to King Kong after Son of Kong, or like a follow-up movie to sort of be in the same universe, I guess, maybe. but it got scrapped, and he tried to bring it back a couple of times. He ended up doing the Mighty Joe Young movie in 1949 instead. They did do some like test shoots around that time to do this movie. He passed away in 61, 62. Yes, yeah, 62. And then they created his movie. Finally got picked up 7 years later in 1969, and out came this in 1969. So it's got a pretty interesting legacy. It was almost 36 years in the making, this movie, considering after Kong, it started being worked on right after Kong in 33, and it came out in 1969 after Willis O'Brien had passed away. So pretty fun little fact there.
It was a movie that, like, at least in the special features that I saw, because they had an interview with Ray Harryhausen, and he was like, they were looking for a movie to make, and he came across the Valley of Gwangi original script, and he was like, I think this is a really good project for us to do, and they ended up having like the script readapted.
Yeah.
I guess to make it a little bit more modern.
Yeah.
At that point, it was quite an old script.
Yeah, and it didn't do well in theaters when it was released. It didn't get a lot of press or anything because in the middle of production, the studio was taken over by completely new management. It changed hands, and they didn't have any faith in the movie. And a lot of the cast and everyone were kind of bummed that happened because they felt like there was a lot of people at the time that would have liked to see the movie, but there wasn't just, like I said, there was next to no anything done for it. It was just like, here, it's in the theater, nobody knows about it.
Yeah, well, it was during that weird Warner Brothers 7 Arts phase in the 60s, so it was, again, Warner Brothers still going through this awkward, we bought a company and we don't know what to do with the movies phase.
Yeah, I mean, they literally just did the whole 100 years of Warner Brothers thing, so 100 years later and they still are doing this crap. I guess things never change.
Yeah.
But the smart thing that they did do is they did eventually re-release it in theaters as a double feature the following year, and it did do better then. And it's become a cult classic. It's been referenced in other TV shows, movies. There is a scene in this where there's I can't think of the name of the little dinosaur. It got recreated in Jurassic Park. With a T-Rex eating this dinosaur. So it's referenced quite a lot. It's been in a lot of TV shows as a little background thing showing on the screen. So it's definitely got some very famous shots in it with Ray Harryhausen's special effects.
Which version of the movie did you watch? Did you watch the Blu-ray version or the DVD?
Yes, the Blu-ray. Yes.
Yeah. So on there they had like a special featurette, and they had the director of Jurassic Park 3 on there, and he was like, I tried to fit as many Gwangi references and stuff into Jurassic Park 3 as I could, and like shots and stuff. He was a huge Gwangi fan, so he was like,
oh, now I kind of want to watch.
He's like, I tried to take like certain shots or certain sequences and try to fit them into the movie best that he could.
Maybe the Pteranodon scene. Oh, now I feel like I really got to watch Jurassic Park 3 after he tells me that.
Yeah, he was like super into it, and they had a couple other ILM 3D modelers, and they were like, they're like, I can't believe like the quality, and the quality of the stop motion honestly really is the star of this movie. Yeah, it's really good, and this is a great Blu-ray transfer. Guys, don't sleep on these like Warner Archive. I know a lot of people say that they're like, they're kind of like, they're very basic releases. This transfer is absolutely amazing. It looks great.
No,
probably the best you're ever going to see this movie.
No, it is a damn good looking movie.
Yeah,
and like special effects is definitely the star. I don't know if I should I'll get into it after the movie about how I felt about the people of this movie.
I feel like this movie is lacking on plot and characters that mean anything.
Yeah.
You don't care about any of these human characters.
I absolutely was frustrated with every single human being in this movie. I mean, we've talked about Gorgo having all around cast, or not cast, the characters always come off as terrible human beings. I feel like this movie.
But at least in Gorgo, I was like, yeah, you're getting yours. In this movie, I was just so like, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, I was just like...
I when the movie ended, I was angry. I was like, these damn people. I was like...
Yeah.
I'm like, I hate them all.
I was just like, I really don't care about any of these characters.
Yeah.
To be honest with you.
With that said, I think we should dive into the story so that everyone can understand my frustration with the characters.
Yeah. So... It starts off with this guy. He's running through like the desert. He's got this thing in a bag, and it's like making all these like pig and horse noises, and it's like a little bag, and he's like running. He's like, you don't know what happened to him.
He's got blood on him.
Oh yeah, and he just kind of like falls down into like a little pool of blood, a little pool of water. The bag's like outside of it, and then in comes. Carlos, and he's just like, oh, like take this bag.
That's my brother Miguel. Yeah,
my brother Miguel. He's dead.
Yeah, and
I don't really care.
And Miguel's last words are Gwangi.
Yeah.
And then this blind lady, this gypsy lady, who's got a whole brigade, and Carlos was part of this brigade originally. She's like, send it back. She's like, everybody will be cursed if you don't return it to the valley. And he's like, nah, lady, I'm taking this.
Yeah.
And then we jump ahead and we see the whole Breckenridge Wild West show is coming to town. It's like a whole circus coming to town, you know? It's back in the day. You've seen it in some movies, almost like Pinocchio. Like when the circus comes, it's like a whole parade. And that's what's going on now. There's people dressed as cowboys, Indians, shooting fake guns in the air, doing tricks, acrobatics. It literally looks like a circus. It doesn't even look like a Western show. It just looks like a Western-themed circus. Which is basically what it is, honestly.
Yeah, they have like a wagon corral reenactment and all this stuff crazy. Like they set wagons on fire and they're having horses take fake falls, and like I'm watching this movie and I'm like, ooh, the PETA people are not going to be happy.
Yeah.
I was like watching this and I'm like,
the stunts that they did in this stunt show within the movie, it was actually pretty impressive. Like
I was actually very impressed.
I would say the animation and the stunts for the Wild West show with the horses and everything were pretty crazy. Like you have these guys like jumping horse to horse, jumping from wagons, doing
guys
like
literally
flips
in
on
a wagon that's on fire.
Yes, they're literally in a wagon that's on fire. They're doing some pretty crazy stunts in this movie. Right off the bat, like that must have been like a massive crew of stuntmen, or it was just some people that maybe it was circus people. Like I said, it was kind of like a circus.
Yeah.
But so they're coming into town, and so is this guy Tuck Kirby, who is our lead male actor for the movie. I honestly think the guy's a scumbag the whole entire movie.
Yeah,
He almost seems like he's going to redeem himself a couple times, but yeah, he's just out to make a buck the whole movie.
So basically, his whole motive right now coming in is he wants to go to Breckenridge's, which is his ex. I guess he used to work for them.
TJ Breckenridge is the female lead that runs the show, the Breckenridge Wild West show.
He used to work for them. He was going to, in his new job that he does, his own business, he buys acts and sells them to other circuses, mainly P.T. Barnum and Bailey circus. So he just like gets like a finder's fee or whatever to get them to transfer over to a different show. So that's why he's here. He wants to take TJ and her horse act because she's the main event.
The Wonder Horse. He doesn't even want TJ. He just wants her horse.
Yeah,
So
just the horse.
Yeah,
and it's just it's like such a weak plot to begin with.
So and then when he arrives in the town, there's this boy Lopi who's probably the only redeemable character in this whole movie. It's just a little boy.
Oh, he's better than the Gorgo boy.
Yes. He's at least a little loyal. He's got no family, it seems like. And he's just looking to make a buck. And he's like really pushing Tuck. And Tuck's like, all right, I like your persistency. You're a go-getter. You're a businessman like me. Tell me where the stadium is. And he negotiates the money. He's like, yeah, I'll take you to the stadium. So they take him to the stadium. And outside the stadium is Champ, TJ's very overprotective assistant. He used to work with her father when he ran the show, but he had since passed away. So I guess he feels like he's got that job now as a father figure for her because they were good friends. So he's like, what are you doing here? And he's like, she's in the middle of her grand finale. You get out of here. He's like, he's like, you're terrible to be around her. You shouldn't be here. But Tuck is like, he hears the music for her grand finale playing. So he goes into the stadium, and TJ is climbing up this giant like wood platform they built with her Wonder Horse. And the grand finale is they light this big wood barrel, a pool, and she's going to jump into it with her horse. And the music's just playing, and they're playing, and she sees him and just stops and is just like staring, like hesitating. And now the whole stadium's like, all right, she's just kind of standing up there doing nothing. And the band's like, yeah, she's still there. Keep playing. Yep, yeah, she still didn't jump yet.
This was one of the issues that I had with the movie was that the movie's 95 minutes long. I felt like they could have cut this down 15 minutes, the whole movie. I feel like there's some sequences in there that just lasted way too long.
Yeah. So she jumps in, and that was an animated scene where she jumps in. It was a figure horse and a doll.
Yeah, don't worry. They didn't actually make a horse jump 20 feet straight down.
Yeah. Yeah, Peter really would have had a field day with this movie then. But, she jumps down. Tuck goes to her room. She doesn't want to see him. And she's like, would you mind leaving? I have to get undressed. He's like, no, go ahead. You can get undressed. And he stays there, and she just goes behind her little curtain and gets changed. And he gives his whole proposal about how he wants the Wonder Horse and whatever. And she's like, nope, I want nothing to do with you. You left me. Blah, blah, blah. So he sets out and hits the road with Lopi. And they encounter this Professor Bromley just wandering the desert. His horse Rosita, no, not his horse, his mule Rosita abandoned him and kicked him in the chest. So Lopi's like, all right, I'll help you go get her. So they find the mule, and the professor shows Tuck this big bone. It's like a femur of an early man that he'd found nearby, and it's got these little horse footprints. What is the name of the horse? It's a really long name.
Is it like Elvis or something?
It's like Epihippopus or something like that. Yeah. It's called. It's some really long sciencey name, but it's supposed to be a horse that's like the size of a squirrel.
Yeah, it's not very large.
Yeah, I'm convinced I could find one or a fossil of one around here. And he's like, it'll be a scientific breakthrough, and I'll get knighted by the king and queen back in London or wherever he's from.
Yeah. So
Eohippus is what it's called. Eohippus.
Yeah, Eohippus. Yes, that's what it is. The Eohippus. And that's kind of what really starts kicking off the story. So Tuck is talking with TJ, and she's like, well, I don't want to sell you the Wonder Horse, because she's like, that's just the beginning of the act. We're going to be rolling out a new act soon. That's going to be the real finale. So she reveals that she has the Eohippus, and that was the thing that was in the bag that Carlos took from his dead brother that he didn't care about. And Carlos sold it to her, but him and his whole crew were still hanging out at the circus for some reason, even though they're like gypsy people. Now they're part of the circus, I guess.
Yeah. And the only reason why she's telling him this is because he somewhat gets on good terms with her, because he returns to the stadium again to try to negotiate a deal, and she's not buying it again. Carlos is like, "What is this guy? Get this guy away from me!" And Carlos himself is kind of like has a thing for TJ. He proposes a relationship between the two of them. They want he not only to be business partners but to be partners. And TJ is like not having it, and then Tuck kind of like swoops in and like, "Hey, babe," like, and trying to act like she's still his girlfriend. And while this is happening, there's a whole bull fighting thing going on, and they're done with the act. But Lope, for some reason, decides, "I'm gonna just step into the arena and try to just coerce this bull to gore me."
Yeah.
And they're standing there like, "Whoa, Lope!" So Tuck runs in to help him and begins running for the wall, and he gets caught by the bull. And then Carlos and the crew get in there and they help him. So she's cleaning him up, and she's like, "Oh, he saved that little boy. He's a good man now." And he kisses her, and that's when she sells out all the info about the Eohippus, saying it's going to be her big act. El Diablo is what they're calling the horse.
Yeah.
So,
and again, some really cool effects from the horse walking around and stuff. Like it's really good. Like like even if you're not gonna watch the movie, you should still like I'd say it's still worth watching at least the special effects.
So
of this movie.
And Tuck goes to Bromley and is like, "Hey man, I got something that you'd love to see." So he sees, he's like, "Oh my god, it's an Eohippus." He's like, "I would love to know where they found this." And Carlos is like, "I'm not going to tell you." He's like, I'm not going to tell you." So he's like, "Oh," but he finds out that it was found by the Gypsy crew. So Professor Bromley seeks out the Gypsy crew, and they're like, "All right, if we can find more of these, we can make more money." And the Gypsy lady's like, "We're not having any of it." So Tuck's like, "Fine, whatever. We can't have two of them to make even more money. So let's head back." So Tuck leaves, but Bromley stays behind and talks to the Gypsy lady that runs the crew, and it's like, "Listen, I could tell you where the horse is so you can return it to the valley." Bromley's plan is to have the Gypsies steal the horse and then follow them back to the valley so he could find whatever he likes there. So, at first you'd think it's a nice scientific research, but he wants this glory for the king and queen. He wants to be this revered scientist and gets all this award and praise for these major breakthrough discoveries, and he wants more. He doesn't want just the horse, he wants more. So back at TJ's show, Carlos is just locking up and gets jumped by the Gypsy crew, gets knocked out, and then Tuck catches wind that this is going on, and he takes off after the Gypsy crew and begins chasing. When Carlos gets up, he sees Tuck chasing them. And when Champ and TJ arrive and hear the whole scuffle, they're like, "What happened?" And Carlos is like, "Your guy Tuck stole the horse."
Yeah, which I was like, I understand he got hit in the head and stuff, but like, he knew it was his crew. Like, I don't understand.
He knew all those guys. Why would Tuck be working with the Gypsies? He said that because he wants TJ to turn on him. Because he wants TJ for himself, because he sees what's going on. He sees Tuck's involved with this. Tuck's in on the secret. So they're like, "Oh."
So, like, unless they just got up to Tuck and killed him immediately, it was a lie that wasn't going to last.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get it.
And then after this whole makeup thing, too, like, TJ was talking to Tuck and about why he left her, and he's like, he gives her this whole like BS story about, he's like, "I'm a peacock and I need a flutter." But he was like some analogy about horses.
I need to spread my wings.
He's like, I'm a wild horse and I need to just do my thing and run free. But now he's like, "I'm ready to settle down." He's like, "I want to get a ranch in Wisconsin and settle down," because she's all hyped on this El Diablo horse show, and he's like, "Nah." He's like, "We don't need the fame anymore." He's like, "We'll do one show, you sell the circus, and we're done. We'll settle down." And she's like all for that. She's all happy about this. And I think it's very weird that like all of a sudden he's like, "Yeah, I could just come back to you and claim you as my wife now. Now I feel like I've lived my bachelor life. I'm a successful rich man. I'm like gonna make more money off your horse and your riches and your show." And she seems like kind of forced. She's like, all right, yeah, we'll do the one last hurrah show. I'll get my money and we call it quits and we'll try to settle down on our ranch. And then all this ensues, and now Tuck's on the run, and she's like, he betrayed me again. And so Tuck's chasing the gypsies, and the professor chases Tuck. And Tuck, for some reason, just decides to take a rest while he's on this chase.
And so does the professor.
Professor.
I'm just gonna lay right here, even though I'm trying to track down.
It's the weirdest thing. The two of them just like pick like a boulder to lay next to.
Yeah. And so then they end up teaming up with each other as like a temporary alliance because. And there's a reason. I don't know why.
And Lope is still just tagging along with the professor.
Yeah, and eventually
we hear at this point when he meets up, we hear some like squeals, and they go running, and Professor's mule is missing again, Rosita, and we just see blood, and we see the pterodactyl like briefly on the screen, and somehow they didn't.
Yeah,
they're like, what happened?
And the pterodactyl, I guess, is leaving the valley.
Yeah, the pterodactyl.
But nobody else has ever seen this pterodactyl ever.
Yeah.
Preying on anything outside of the valley.
And they just completely missed it because they were just talking. A giant dinosaur lizard bird.
Yes. I don't quite understand
that seems
how that worked
really
either.
Weird. They're like, what happened?
Because in the movie they really make it seem like when you're in the valley, that's where the dinosaurs are.
Yeah.
And then once you leave the valley, the dinosaurs are not there anymore.
Yeah. So
it's like almost like a magical portal type of thing, but not really. Not really, but like they are exclusively in that valley.
Yeah.
But except for the pterodactyl in that one scene, but nobody ever sees it ever again.
Yeah. And luckily, the professor had a horse this time and not the mule. Lope was the one riding Rosita, which I don't know how he missed the pterodactyl too, because he was there. So Lope jumps up on the horse with the professor now. And they keep following the tracks of the gypsies. At this point, the gypsies have released the horse into the valley, and they've pieced out. Think they've completed their mission, but Tuck arrives, and
basically they all kind of show up. At the same
they all
time.
kind of show up at the same time.
And then you have a group of cowboys, and none of them have a lasso ready for this mini horse.
No.
What was the plan? They were all just going to go on the ground trying to catch it?
Yeah. So they get there. The Eohippus still hasn't returned to the valley. It's just kind of wandering in the area. So they're all just chasing this thing around. And this scene, I think I heard they used a lamb, I believe, for some of the shots. And then it was also animated too.
Yeah.
But they're chasing this horse around, and then it runs into this little crack in the wall. They're like, oh, it's trapped. We're good now.
Oh, but you missed the most important part. TJ eventually does lasso this, and then Tuck catches it with his hands, and for some reason lets go of it so it can go through the crack.
Yeah, well, she's like,
because he wants to be cute.
No. She goes, get your thieving hands off my horse, and he's like, all right, and she just
like I said, he wants to be cute.
And one of the funny things about that is, so she lassos the horse and then it pulls her, and it makes like that funny like cartoon bonk sound when she falls down too. Did you notice that sound?
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, it was like that classic boom, like when she falls down. I was like, did they really just put that in there? Yeah, give that scene a rewatch. It's pretty. I laugh. That gave me a little chuckle. But yeah, she goes, get your hands off my thieving horse, and she just lets it go, and then the horse runs into the crack in the wall, and
that horse is his ticket towards having his dream life. He just lets it go.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. I mean, at this point, he is sort of trying to better himself, because he did say he wants his dream life, and he's like, listen, we got to get the one show, and then I could settle down with this girl. Even though he was still kind of a dick, thinking he just kind of I could just crawl back to her whenever I want. Be like,
it wasn't me, it was the professor. I was trying to capture it for you.
Yeah.
Carlos knows this, but he's a two-timing boy.
Yeah.
And like that would be the end of the movie.
Yeah.
But instead he was just like, he.
Yeah. He's like, I don't have time to explain myself, so I'll just let the horse go. So yeah, he lets the horse go. Champ goes into the crack and discovers there's a big valley on the other side that horses could fit through in walkways. So they just tie a bunch of ropes behind around this boulder that's seemingly blocking that passageway, and it opens up a big crack in the wall that they could fit their horses through. And sure enough, they are in the valley.
This is kind of where this movie shines. Is this?
This is where a huge
bit
shining
of the
point.
movie. This act.
The build up to this did take quite a while.
Yeah, it was like the first 40 minutes or something.
It is a little slow the first half. So they get into this valley, but like Tuck, Carlos, and a third guy, they just go running in right away. They're just going. They're following the tracks, I think. And they take off, they're going. They're just wandering. They encounter this dinosaur on a rock, and that's when the Gwangi pops up, the Tyrannosaurus Rex. Now,
or
all
the
way,
Allosaurus.
I think it's a Tyrannosaurus. It's originally supposed to be Allosaurus.
So I think the box is Allosaurus.
Oh, it does.
But on the interview with Ray Harryhausen, he was like, they are basically the same thing.
Yeah.
And it's just a marketing thing. He actually literally says like T-Rex and Allosaurus. It's basically the same thing. One's just bigger.
Yeah.
And we just went with whatever the advertisers thought would be the best.
Yeah. So they encounter that, but way back with the other crew where TJ is, Champ is, and pretty much a majority of the crew. Right now, only Tuck and the Professor and like one other guy there. Way back at the crew with the other people, Lope enters the canyon, and our pterodactyl Pteranodon makes another appearance and picks him up, claws his back, and they carry him away. And here, Carlos actually does something nice, and he wrestles that Pteranodon down to the ground, fights it. It's a really cool puppet that they had for this, too. They not only had an animated one, they had a puppet that looked like life-size. They wrestle that thing down to the ground. Carlos snaps its neck, kills it, and Tisha's like, "What is that?" And I actually know what the professor was back with them still, with Lope.
He eventually catches up to them.
Yeah, he's like, "Oh my god, this is a scientific breakthrough. I'm going to stay here and research this." Now, Tuck is there with the other guys by this Tyrannosaurus. They're trying to clean up Carlos and Lope. Professor's just like, "This is amazing." He's like, "Forget the horse. I have an extinct dinosaur here. It's even better." But they get spotted by Gwangi, and they're like, "We are no effect on this thing. Bullets aren't hurting it." So they start retreating, and they're like, "We got to get the hell out of here. There's a giant lizard coming." And Bromley's like, "I'm staying. You go." And he doesn't have a horse anymore at this point. So they take off, leave him, and they begin to try to leave the valley, but they can't. They find shelter on a ridge, and the professor sees Gwangi appear, and he's like, "Oh crap, okay, yeah, I probably should have left." So he slowly creeps towards this cave, and not very effectively. He's tripping, knocking over stones. He's not very silent.
Yeah.
And then a Triceratops also appeared that was chasing another member of the crew who kind of got separated. He shot at it, had no effect. And it looks like the two of them are going to face off. It looks like we're going to have Gwangi versus the Styragosaurus. The professor's all hyped about it. But then the two of them kind of just turn face and both go their separate ways. Like, we're not going to do this fight. They both kind of chicken out. And back at the camp, Tuck's building like a trap. He somehow managed to dig a giant hole with Carlos, it appears. It looks like it's so literally him and Carlos. And this is a gigantic hole. And they cover it with these branches. And the rest of the crew members are just kind of chilling up on this mountain ridge overlooking that in like another cave around a fire. TJ's there, Lope's there. They make this trap. They're like, "Oh, if one of those things comes, we're going to catch it." So they go up in the cage, and Champ's looking at the ammo, and he's like, "You loaded the guns with the blanks." He's like, "That's why these weren't affecting the dinosaurs." So the whole time they have all these guns loaded with blanks, and the guy's like, "How am I supposed to know?"
It's like, they look the same to me.
Yeah.
And then this guy later got a job on the film set with, oh my god, I'm going to make a terrible joke, but I can't remember the actor's name.
Oh, God. Alec Baldwin.
Alec Baldwin. How are you supposed to tell the difference?
God. You went there, huh?
Yeah.
But yeah. Yeah,
but I thought this was going to be a plot point for the movie. Like a oh, this is going to come up later type of thing.
Are we going to use our guns later? Like,
but
real
the scene
guns?
later when they had their guns, they seemed to either just have terrible aim or real guns seemingly had no effect either.
Yeah.
I was a little confused.
The ending of this movie really frustrates me, but we're working our way there.
And that is also probably about 10 minutes too long.
Yeah. So the trap goes off, and they discover the professor's in the trap. He's like, I fell in a big hole, and they all have a chuckle and laugh. Next morning comes around, Tuck's like, I'm going to go get some water by myself. So he goes down to the little river, and his horse is freaking out while he's trying to fill his bottle, and he looks up, and there's Gwangi. He hops on the horse, takes off for camp. He's like, we got to get the hell out of here. And that's when the epic lassoing scene takes place. But that's shortly after the Styracosaurus appears again, and this time they fight. Pretty cool fight. Gwangi wins, ultimately. The Cowboys, for some reason, were helping Gwangi. I mean,
I was so confused.
There's a professor, a paleontologist right there that knows these dinosaurs, right? Sure, the Styracosaurus has horns. It's big. Not as big as Gwangi. It's also a herbivore. You would think the professor would be like, hey, shoot that one instead and try to keep this one alive, because this one's not going to try to eat us at least. And we can fight it.
I was very confused. I was like, oh, he's going over with the spear. He's going to do something. Oh, he just threw it at the Triceratops.
Yeah.
And, oh, Gwangi just killed it.
Yeah. Yeah, that was like a very strategic mistake in my opinion. But then at this point they're like, let's try to lasso Gwangi and capture it. And the scene is a really long scene. It's a very long scene. It
is very long, but it is very impressive. So essentially the way they filmed this was they had the actors lassoing a Jeep, and that was what was kind of causing the back pull, forward and back with the ropes. And then Ray Harryhausen basically had to stop motion cell animate over that footage frame by frame to do all of that. So it took about 6 months for him to do that.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, he might get 15 seconds of footage done in a day, maybe. Which, when you think about that, 15 seconds, that's 24 frames per second. You're talking a couple hundred pictures a day.
Yeah. That's a lot of damn work.
Animated. And he didn't just, like, the animation on this, it's just not like, oh, I'm going to go pick up this phone over here. It's like, no, like, well, what would the T-Rex be doing? It'd be moving its tail. These wrinkles would be moving. You know, like, it was very animated and realistic.
It was very detailed.
The movements. And so it wasn't just very, like, angular and simple or, like, one-track minded. It was very, like, well, how would the whole anatomy of this dinosaur be working?
Yeah. That was one of the things about anatomy. When they kill the Styracosaurus, after it's fallen, it is still breathing. And that model they filled with like a balloon to simulate it slowly breathing and dying.
Yeah. So that quite impressive. They do end up lassoing Gwangi, but it ends up snapping the ropes, and they decide, all right, this isn't working. We just have to get out of here.
Yeah, so they just gun it for the exit to the valley. They were able to just fit their horses through. Gwangi's too big, so he's not going to be able to chase them through that hole. But he decides, screw it. So Gwangi just Leroy Jenkins it and runs through that mountain, and it causes a collapse because he's too big for that hole. And a boulder bonks him on the head and knocks him out. And they're like, we have our new main attraction. So they just MacGyver this ghetto cart together, and they tie him up and lasso his mouth shut, and then dragging him back, and they are met by the gypsy lady once again, and she's like, "You must return to the valley." She's like, "You've cursed us all."
She's the curse of Gwangi.
Yes.
Now, we're going to cut to the next scene because they just say, "Yeah, right, lady."
Yeah.
And next scene we have, they're probably, I'm assuming Mexico City, but they just go, like, that's one thing. They don't want to say that they're in Mexico in this movie for some reason.
I think
they are someplace south of the Rio Grande.
Yeah.
Someplace.
There's not many places south of it, but...
But, you know, like, so they go into this big show thing, and she says, you know, beware the curse of Gwangi. Now, if I tell you, you know, you better be careful because I heard flat tires are going around and you might catch a flat tire. And then I go and I stick my knife in your tire and walk away. Is that a curse? Is that a flat tire going around? Or did you just cause something to happen?
Yeah, so she's a pretty crappy character too, along with her crew. So she sends her fellow gypsy into the show. They both sneak into the show. And Press is there, and they're like, all right, line up for the big shot. So he's in there. He sneaks to the cage. The whole show's going on. Prior to him, they have elephants now doing handstands and all this stuff. And they're trying to get the elephant into the cage, and it's kind of like giving them a hard time. So they know the elephant just senses something is up with Gwangi. That's because the gypsy's inside, under the big curtain, loosening the connectors to the cage, and sure enough, Gwangi gets loose, and it doesn't go good for that gypsy. He gets eaten, and that's the first thing you see when the curtain lifts, and Champ's like, put the curtain back down, we don't want people seeing this.
But for some reason they have this curtain rigged up to a hot air balloon.
Yeah.
So they can't bring it back down.
Yeah.
Prior to this though, TJ and Tucker are in the office. They're talking, and basically she's big shot business lady now. She doesn't want to settle down.
She wants to go on a world tour now, so now she's become the greedy bastard.
And she's like, the professor's like, we have real science that we could be doing here. And she's like, well, you can do it on our world tour. You can just come with us and do your science there, because that's how science works.
And then he's like, I'll see what the king and queen have to say about this.
Yeah, while they're in Mexico,
yeah.
By the way. I mean, someplace south of the Rio Grande, not Mexico. But anyway,
and like this
Lope's like,
and like clearly, like they're American people. What is the king and the queen gonna do? This isn't like pre-Revolutionary War either.
Yeah, no, I'm assuming the time period for this is supposed to be like late 1800s, early 1900s.
Yeah,
I'm assuming that's what like the time frame of this is supposed to be. So they, you know, Tuck leaves because he's fed up with it. Lope is apparently the only person that can talk sense to the TJ to go after him. So she leaves the show to go after him, and they go walking off into the distance, happily ever after, right? Apparently not. So they walk off. They're not at the show anymore. Gwangi gets out. Really cool fighting scene with the elephants where we're seeing, well, first off, Gwangi's just eating a guy when the curtain goes up. Breaks through the cage because the bolts are all undone. The elephant didn't return because the elephant was giving them issues. So then Gwangi kills the elephant. Everyone's running out. And then Guanchi's trying to get out. Because again, it's like a really small tunnel. And instead of closing the doors, Gwangi just runs out into Mexico City.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's Mexico City.
And it's crazy. Like, as soon as the curtain lifts, like, the whole entire stadium just immediately begins emptying.
Yeah, they're like, this is a bad idea.
It's just all of Mexico City just running. The gypsy gets hers now. She sent her little assistant to go free Gwangi. She gets trampled to death. Just like that one guy in Gorgo got trampled to death. She gets trampled to death. So she got hers. Yeah. We also forgot to mention that when they were retreating the valley, Gwangi chopped down on Carlos, and he's gone at this point.
Oh, yeah, Carlos is gone.
Yeah.
But like,
and they don't even
missing are we missing Carlos?
No, but nobody doesn't even nobody.
Nobody bats an eye.
Yeah,
they're just like, oh, what happened to Carlos?
That's literally what happens.
I thought they were going to go back for him.
Yeah, after Gwangi gets knocked out, they're like, oh, where's Carlos? I'm like, maybe,
whatever.
Sure, whatever.
He's with his brother now.
Yeah, he's with his brother now. Yeah. So yeah, the city is just in chaos now. Everybody's running. Now, this is one of the things that bothered me this part of the movie. So there's like hundreds of people now. They had like 12 guys when they were in the valley that were lassoing this thing. And at the time, I think it was 4 of them were actually attempting to lasso it. The rest were just chilling up on the ledge with spears and sticks. Like, they have like the full crew that has clearly been handling Gwangi. I mean,
and real guns.
And how did they get him in the cage in the first place? Because he wasn't in the cage when they were transporting him. So clearly they've handled him, but instead they're like, panic mode, dude. Let's just run.
No backup plan. No nothing.
There was nothing. Like, clearly, like,
and clearly the cage wasn't bolted to the ground. It was just closed.
And it's not like they had the cage.
So if Gwangi moved, the cage would have just went off the stage, and then it would have tipped over.
Exactly, and not like yeah, and the cage wasn't just there when they brought him back. Like, how did they keep Gwangi knocked out? Like, clearly they had handled this side
of the cage around. Like, I was very confused.
Instead, they all irrationally just run, and they all end up in the whole city ends up inside this massive cathedral church, huge. And then when Gwangi's approaching, they're like, "All right, let's block the doors. All right, let's unblock the doors now." And everyone go out the back, and Tuck's like, "I'll guide him in here." So Tuck guides him to the church.
But he's got a gun, and I don't think he hits Gwangi once.
He throws the gun. He shoots.
Yeah, he's like throwing the gun.
He throws the rifle at Gwangi and just was like, "All right, let's go in the church. Everybody run out the back door." So all that's left in the church is TJ and Lope. They're stuck under like this platform in the church, and Gwangi's too small to get underneath it. So Tuck runs up the stairs and is waving his arms. He takes a flag and spears it in the eye, and it flips out, and that's their opportunity to run. So they're running out of the church, and they can just keep running and lock him in the church. But instead, Tuck takes a moment to grab some incense and a candle and just throw it and start a fire in this massive, immaculate cathedral.
It's like burning
in the middle of the town, and it just starts a massive fire. Yeah.
And then that's the end of the movie.
Yeah.
And then the whole thing, and they're watching it, and they're like,
everybody's
all that's going through my head is they're going to get so sued.
Yeah.
Who's liable for all this?
Yeah, they're burning down this like immaculate church that's like probably a historic landmark, and everyone's just kind of standing there like Champ's like, "Oh, there goes my money," because like he became a greedy bastard too. TJ's world tour is crushed. Tuck is just staring.
They didn't get to sell the show.
He's like, "I just burnt down a church. I didn't have to. We could have wrangled this thing up, not have to kill it. I burnt down a historic church." And then Lope's like one of the last ones you see with like a tear rolling down his face. I don't know if he's crying because Gwangi's getting killed. His church in town is being burnt down. But clearly they had the thing trapped. Tuck did not need to burn down the church or kill Gwangi. They handled him once before. The ending made no sense to me whatsoever.
Yeah, it kind of just ended. They're like, "Yeah, we burnt it alive." The end.
And like I said, I just hated all these people in the movie. Lope was the only redeemable one. He was just an innocent kid just trying to survive, make some money. Everyone else was trying to make money too, but they were just greedy bastards. And even TJ in the end, after being abandoned by this jerk, she just quickly comes around because it's an old love of hers, and she doesn't have any rational thought to, like, she just has like no self-esteem. It seems like she's like, "Yeah, you know what? I'm settling down with this guy." Meanwhile, she's got Carlos falling at her feet. She's got like any guy she wants, and she's like, "No, this is the guy." And Champ, greedy, all of them were like terrible people in this movie. And I was just so frustrated when this church is just burning to the ground. I'm like, really? That's what you did? You burnt down this historic landmark in the town that clearly everybody sought out for shelter. Like, it was an important place in the town. Like, everyone could have just ran back into their houses. They're running by all these buildings. Like, this dinosaur cannot get into a single one of those buildings. This is the only building with giant doors that it could get into besides the stadium, which is another thing.
It seemed very, like, I don't know. I just feel like the end of the movie just was over elaborate for almost no reason. I think it would have probably been better if they like trapped it in the Coliseum somehow, and then like they do something there to end the movie. It seems like they kind of ran out of ideas on how to actually bring the story to an end.
So, like I mentioned earlier before the show, the studio changed hands. So and the production, like you said, it took 6 months to shoot that wrangling scene. The director kind of got bored with the movie, and he kind of just wanted to be done with it as well. Like, he lost interest in it. So I think that's kind of why we got the ending that we got. I'm guessing we couldn't see Gwangi get wrangled again because they didn't want it to turn into a 12-month production to do that scene.
Yeah, but like lower the gate in the Coliseum or something.
Something simple to knock it out. I mean, you're in a city with tons of things you could drop on it. You didn't need to drop an entire cathedral on it.
Yeah.
But they did.
For a second, when they were like everyone's running through the tunnels and stuff, I thought they were just gonna close the gate on Gwangi's head and just like guillotine it or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I thought that would have been probably just fine. I mean, it seemed like it already seemed like the movie was a bit long.
Yeah.
To be honest with you.
Yeah.
It's 95 minutes, and I was looking for it to end.
Yeah, that opening is way too long. I wish they spent a little more time in the valley and we saw a little more.
Yeah, I wish there was more time in the valley because that was really where the magic of the movie was.
Yeah.
The story that they tried focusing so much time on was kind of nonsensical, and it was just there.
Did anybody really care about TJ Breckenridge's horse show and the success of it? Like, that's what they really focused on, like, was trying to save her, like, Western show.
But it didn't seem like... See, the problem was the show that they showed that, like, we got to attend looked like it had decent attendance. It had great acts. Like, at no point did I feel like this was a struggling show.
But they acted like it was.
Yeah. Yeah, business just isn't what it used to be. You show the crowd, and it's just like a handful of people there. Like, no, it seemed like it was pretty well attended, and it was going through town, and people were excited to go see it, and they had the arena, and
yeah,
I was a little confused.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. So there is another movie that's another cowboy dinosaur movie, The Beast of Hollow Mountain, which was sort of a precursor to this movie. So I'm kind of curious if that has a little bit of a better plot. Maybe the next Kaijus and Cowboys issue will cover that when we review Kaijus and Cowboy issue 4. I'm kind of curious to see. I mean, this is a very different genre with kaijus and dinosaurs. I mean, see, now I did it. Cowboys and dinosaurs. Cowboys and dinosaurs. So, I actually did back a comic book called Cowboys and Dinosaurs recently on Kickstarter, and I actually think they're getting close to fulfilling that, so that'll be an interesting one for me to cover on the channel soon, too. We'll be sharing that one out. But, it's a nice combination of things. Cowboys was always a popular thing around the time this movie came out. So I'm curious to see what other movies did with this type of crossover here. And there's not a lot of them.
Yeah. But yeah, it was great to see the effects. I mean, I can't really understand how cool it is to watch that stuff. So for that alone, I would say, like, especially if you're like into movies, and you're into special effects, it's cool just to watch for those scenes.
Yeah,
and it's only 95 minutes, so while it does feel very long because the plot is kind of dragging, it is a quick watch if you're into that type of stuff. So you can it's more of something that you can appreciate more than actually enjoy the plot.
Yeah, the special effects really carried this movie.
But yeah, it really was great to see the progression from Beast in 20,000 Fathoms to Gwangi as far as the stop motion effects go.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, I my final feelings on this movie was I was angry that they had to kill the dinosaur, hated the people. I felt bad for Gwangi at the end of the movie, honestly. I mean, he was just minding his own business in the valley, and they kind of just came in there to ruin his day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's similar to Kong. They dragged an animal out of its natural habitat, brought it for a show. The show went awry, and the animal ends up dead because of just mishandling of the humans. It's a very similar story, and as you said, it was supposed to sort of serve as a predecessor to Kong at the time.
Yeah, but the plot to the characters in Kong were more well-rounded. You cared about them more.
Yeah.
They tried to be poetic with the whole beauty that killed the beast thing. This was just kind of like, oh yeah, that's the movie. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, I was like, wow, that's the end. Like, boom. I was like, when the building started burning, I'm like, it's just gonna end with this building burning, isn't it? Yep. Sure enough, it did.
Yeah, but yeah. Thanks for. I think that's basically it.
Yeah, that's it, guys.
Done covering this movie. Thank you guys for watching. We'll catch you in the next episode. It's probably going to be our Godzilla Kong New Empire episode.
Yeah, I believe that's our next episode, and I think we could probably be close to the Kaijus and Cowboys campaign. So I'm thinking following that episode, we should have Frankie and Matt on the show. We got to see how their schedule works, how our schedule works. Yeah, we'll see what we bring after that. But Godzilla, Kong, the New Empire, I'm really excited for it. Looking forward to it. It looks like a really fun movie. Adam Wingard already said he's got ideas for a sequel. And I'm here for it, man. I like the fun. There's still a portion of the fan base that are just like, please let it end. I'm like, just have some fun with the movie. Like,
you just got -1.
Yeah.
Like, we need, the way I see this movie, it's GTA for Godzilla.
Yeah.
Like, that's the way I'm seeing this. We're just here to have fun. It's Fast and Furious for Godzilla.
Somebody called it the WrestleMania of monster movies. I saw it today.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, like, it's just have fun.
Yeah. Just go and have fun. Like,
yeah.
People like the CGI is going to look terrible. The plot makes no sense. You don't even know what the story is yet. Calm down.
Yeah. But, yeah, I guess we'll catch you guys next time.
All right, guys. Thank you.